Hello, beautiful souls, and we are back. And right now we have Adora Crystal Evans with us. And Adora is a celebrity connector, TV host, and producer, author, and she loves to help people learn and create high-level strategic connections to make quantum leaps in life and business. Hello, Adora. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing absolutely fabulous. And today, because we're all about talking in the quantum, Adora will be teaching us about the strategic quantum connections for elevation in business and life. And the floor is yours, Adora.
Thank you. So awesome. How's it going, everyone? So, we are energy and everything is energy. So you're going to see me even wake up my own energy with movement sometimes. And I recommend you do the same. So just shake out your hands a little bit right now. This just allows us to break up energy that doesn't serve us, even if it's not bad. It's just like, it's not this present moment, right? So shake all that off. And I want you to take a moment and place your hands on your heart and close your eyes. Okay, so we can prepare for this lesson. All right. And as you close your eyes, I want you to bring your attention to your heart space. And I want you to feel in that heart space, as you think about a moment that you felt so much love, like the most amazing moment. One that comes up for me often is the first time I made eye contact with my daughter. So it could be any kind of moment, just a moment where you felt just so much love. And I want you to imagine that love as an image, or that image that made you feel that. See it sitting in the center of your heart and beginning to glow a little bit. And then I want you to imagine all the love of the universe, the angels, the creator that brought you into being, the greatest love, like all the love of the universe. Imagine that just surrounding you, even around the back side of you, under you, over you. And you've got that glowing image of love in your heart. And I want you to imagine opening the back door of your heart to allow that love inside to meet this gorgeous, loving image that you're feeling. And I'm really feeling this nicely warming up the backside of my body, flooding gently through different parts. Notice where it wants to go first. Mine's coming to my throat area right now. Allow that, all the love of the universe, and let your body know it's safe to feel this love, and allow it to just go where it needs to go, but to every cell. Ground that in to your stomach, to your womb or hara area, to your legs, all the way down to your toes. You might wiggle your toes. And as you connect into that, I'm just going to intend this time is divinely guided, deeply intuitive, and mutually nourishing, that we only take in what is for our highest and greatest good, and we release everything that no longer serves us with grace and ease. And so it is. All right. And you can shake again. That really got me. I'm literally sweating right here. So I'm thinking there's a lot of energy, because there is no such thing as time and space. So whenever you're watching this, you have the opportunity to step into this frequency and to feel it. So connection in the quantum field for you and for I first begins to connecting right here, right to our own source light, to our own divine soul, to our own higher self that is connected to, I call the quantum God often. It's still one of my very favorite names, but I know a lot of you use, the quantum, infinite intelligence, the universe. So any of that, I've used all of them. God is still my favorite. So whatever that is, that connection is the first quantum connection to make, right? And so my belief is, and let me know if this is your belief as well. My belief is before I ever came into this field, into this space, and that before you ever came to this space, look at your body and kind of touch it. Before you came into this real estate, that is your real estate. It's your sovereign land. It's your property for your spirit, right? Before you came here, you came with an assignment, a mission, even if that was to just play, explore, discover, unfold. But what I imagine is that you came in here with a lot of many missions, a lot of grander missions and soul callings. And our first assignment, if you choose to take it in connecting to the quantum, is always connecting right here with that self that you've been assigned to. And I know if I'm a mom, I don't know how many of you are parents, but, or maybe you have fur babies, you know, you have friends, you have communities, but very often people who are empathetic or contribution minded forget that initial connection, or maybe they don't forget it, but when they're surrounded by other people, they may go so far in empathy, so far to the other side that they leave their own home base, right? I mean, I may be just talking to myself here, but I kind of doubt it, that there is this sense that happens sometimes. I call it of squeezing back, that I'll need to squeeze back into my own body, or I get so high on the frequency of others and the connections that I'm making. And if you're someone who really sees the possibility in humanity and you feel called to that, which if you're called to this space, I'm pretty certain you do, you know, you're about healing, being the highest, greatest good for all of humanity and all beings, right? And so when that happens, sometimes, especially my younger years, and it still can happen now, I'm tapping into the highest vision that I see, you know, in someone else, and that they usually, that is their own highest vision as well, that they see for themselves. And I can get really high in that connection of like just vibing and feeling their vision and feeling the intimacy and who they are and the exploration, that a lot of times, like after a big event where I've been connecting a lot, I'll need some time to come back home. And it's not that I left my home, but it's like, even if I'm staying really grounded in who I am, because I'm connecting all over, that I call it coming back home, kind of letting the dust settle, shaking off all the beautiful things. I'm not shaking off, you know, I'm really in usually these times a very high vibe space, but I'll still need to kind of shake it off and then let it all, I call it letting the dust settle, so that I can tune back into like, okay, of all this vision I've been swimming in collaboration and beauty and celebration and connection, let me come back home to completely attuning to the vision that God has granted me in my heart, my life, my soul, and process kind of what I've been exposed to and what it means to me now, versus, you know, in the height of the moment of like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, because you're, you know, and like process, let go of what's not mine, kind of settle in and reconnect to myself. So for some of you, you're already getting a lot of ahas. Some of you are like, I'm still, you know, picking up everything, things that belong to me, and positive and negative. And so again, this is that reminder that the first soul that you're assigned to, the one you're accountable for, the one that I don't necessarily believe in a judgment day, but when our life is complete in this form, what did you do with it? How did you play it? The accounting will not be of what your child did, your neighbor did, your spouse did, your ex-business partner did. It'll be what you did with that, right? And what did you do with your sacred energy, with your playtime here on the planet, with your experience of living. And yes, maybe there will be some overflow of how that impacted others and the difference that it made. But the first accounting is you, your energy, your space, your assignment. And so it's a really important piece of connecting. And many of you are like, yep, I knew that, right? But isn't it funny how you can know it and still need to remember it? Like, be reminded. Oh yes, life gives us lots of opportunities. And some of you are like, yeah, I came in like that. I knew my assignment. So good for you. Good for you. That is awesome. We're all so unique and different. Okay, so the next level of connecting and the quantum, I want to give you a little background for, because I just dove in with you and you may be like, who is this person? What are we talking about? So, and you may have seen a little bit in the bio, but basically what I want to share with you is that, like many of you, I had my own wild childhood, a bit like, now I look at it like Peppy Longstockings. If any of you even you have to be of a certain age to even know who she was. But very early at 15, I was living on my own. I lived on my own briefly. My parents still had property on the land, but at 12. And so, I've experienced a wild life, exposed to a lot very early, like many of you. And then through a roller coaster of experiences, I found myself in a boarded up home with no electricity. And instead of investing in electricity, I invested into a distributor kit in a network marketing company. And there I met on a cassette tape a guy named Jim Rohn on a Walkman cassette player. And it set me on a path of self-development that was still more like, a lot of people think, I don't know about you, I certainly thought it was going to be all up from then, but success often is more like the stock market on the rise, or crypto on the rise, or the swirling and lifting and like a trampoline, ballet dancer meets a trampoline, something like that. And if you have been living very long and had any successes, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like the ebbs and flows of the ocean. And so, I certainly had some successes right after that, but I was in a place where I found myself dancing in a nightclub, a gentleman's club. And it was not where I wanted to end up, but I didn't yet have the faith that I could, I knew I could be more, which is why I was visioning and affirming and reading all these books and praying and sound bowls and all the things. But with my actions, I was still showing up at the club and receiving money there, even though I had a vision for something different. And so finally, how many of you know that your body will start to tell you when you're knowing you're meant to go somewhere else, but you're not yet letting go, or too comfortable or too afraid to step into the unknown, or just don't even know what's next. The universe will start, God will start speaking gently, but eventually your body will try to protect you. My body did that. I developed a smoke allergy. And so when I would go work in the club, it would be like, a week, and my throat would feel really swollen. And then, so it got to be where I could only work once a week. And so I knew I was getting, like, everything in me was trying to push me out of there. But the final thing was an event. It was an inappropriate, and then what could be inappropriate in a strip club, but it was totally inappropriate event. And it was someone that I thought was going to mentor me. And it was a huge wake up call that, okay, I'm done. I am done. And so I found this book called Think and Grow Rich and started reading about infinite intelligence and the connections to masterminds in our mind and the ability to do that. And as I was doing that, I wrote down that I would love to be paid to interview successful people. Napoleon Hill, if you know Think and Grow Rich, he interviewed all these, Mahatma Gandhi, Theodore Roosevelt, Henry Ford, all these amazing men. The women we hadn't made our scene so strongly back yet, but and so I wanted to do what he did. It seemed to make him successful. I thought that sounds good. It sounds like I'd learn a lot. It sounds like fun, but I'd want to be paid for it. And so someone else that I met in that club called me, did not know that I had written that down or had that desire, even that I had left the industry. But he told me he had a job when he was younger at a place that gave him an incredible skill set and that they were hiring, and that he thought I would be really great for it. And I remember being on the other side of the phone, just like, oh my gosh, yes. I was in this place where I saw him go from not so successful tiny apartment with barely any furniture to millions within a very short period of time. And so I trusted him, and I had been reading enough to know, like, do what the mentors say. So I buy these Ann Taylor suits because I'm 5'2", and at 23, it made me look a little boxier and older, and that's what I was going for. Anyway, I got the job, and it ended up that the job was being a producer on the Discovery Channel. And my job as a producer was to call CEOs that were revenuing over 10 million a year in their companies and to interview them to see if they would be a good fit for us to feature on this show on the Discovery Channel. And I wasn't even freaking done reading the book. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been shouting it out loud every day. And here I am sitting, talking to these incredibly successful people. I saw braces at the time. And, I knew that this was working for me, that life was working for me, that God, the universe, infinite intelligence, even Napoleon Hill, I felt he was working for me and in me through, the way I was applying these principles. So I'm going to take a drink. If you have water, I recommend you hydrate too. So that brings me to another level of connection. And that is, in order to connect, after you connect to yourself, connecting to what it is that you really, really want in a definite way. And it's important to say what you really want, because there were a lot of things that I wrote down in that same spiral back then. It was index cards that were spiral bound, and I wrote so many things. I'm like an overachiever in this area. It was supposed to be one definite purpose with a few affirmations. I filled the whole thing up, which may have made things take even longer because I wasn't so focused. It was like I had so many things in there. But you know what? The things that manifested and that I was able to connect with in energy first, because you know what? I grew up on welfare. I was from a tiny town. I was the town scandal. I knew no one in Dallas. I'd never been to college. I'd been working in a strip club. Nobody knew I had this. For me to put out into the universe, I want to be paid to interview successful people. And then for that call to come to me in this tiny apartment and deliver an invitation that led me to the exact freaking thing I was asking for, I was longing for, that was miraculous. It's what we would call miraculous. Maybe not you, if you just go, nope, that's everyday living. That is how I feel now. But in that moment, that was fucking holy. Excuse my language. And for some of you, you're like, did she just put an F-bomb with a sacred word? You know what? I got to give you a little side note. My grandfather, who looked like Santa Claus by the time I met him, was a very strong military man. It ended up he had every award except for the Congressional Medal of Honor. But he found Jesus really late in life. And he used to say, well, shit, honey, the Bible says. And so, yeah, pleasure center with a sacred, sometimes a well-placed cuss word with a sacred term hits a pleasure center in my mind. And if that is the worst that I do, and it's not, it definitely hasn't been, I think it's okay. So anyway, there were a lot of things I'd written in that book, and many of those things didn't come to me until like 20 years later, or never came to me, and they actually didn't make it into books, 10 years later. So it's, sometimes the things that we're asking for, some of those things I wondered, like, why did some of them come true and that one so fast, and some of them took a lot longer, and I don't know. In one way, I don't know the answer, but what I do know, or at least I've observed in my own life, is that, the things that are the most soul aligned, like I was congruent from my heart with, it would be phenomenally amazing to be paid for that. And I saw so much possibility and hope in that it manifested it in, right away. And, then the timing of some things that came, it was about, that at that time I wasn't yet prepared or ready to receive, or even congruent with receiving some of the things that I wrote down. And some of the things that I wrote down didn't even belong to me, and what do I mean by that? I mean, some of those things, maybe I was looking at someone else and thinking, wow, they're really amazing. And if I was more like that, then that would be cool. Or maybe I put down, 18 different luxury cars, but I really wasn't that excited about them. So that's another thing about connecting and the connections, because this ended up being a major career connection that completely shifted the whole trajectory of my life, not just then, but all the speakers, teachers, opportunities that I've had access to over the years, everything from working with a designer that dressed Prince, walking red carpets, dressing Katy Perry, Rihanna, Cher, getting to participate in some really cool things like that, getting to participate and, getting a few of the speakers to agree to be in the movie that we now call The Secret. Getting to be the senior writer for Fashion and Art magazine in Egypt, getting to do so many things, producing Dining Divas, TV that I'm producing right now. There have been many, many things. I won't go on and on, except for to say that my life completely altered and changed from the skill set that I got here. And so this was a connection that elevated my career, and waves on waves on waves. It still is this one connection that the universe God brought to me after I was clear and connected in and got very definite, as Napoleon Hill would call it, about what I wanted to experience. Then in comes to me this incredible connection that was a career connection. So, in your own business, in your own life, it's very rare that we're going to earn a lot of money and get to travel and have experiences that we want to have and give to who we want to give to just by ourselves. There's usually at least one other person, involved, and often many other people that we're contributing to, serving, learning from, meeting, that open doors for us and we open doors for them, that, so connecting in the quantum, especially for career connections or any kind of connection, a love connection, it's a similar kind of process. The most aligned connections that are congruent with your true heart and design are the ones that are going to come in right away. And then the ones that still need some journeying or some unfolding, or there's some things that you're going to become along the way that bring you to the, like right now, and I don't mean this in a bragging way, I mean this in this stuff freaking works kind of way. Right now, at 44, I am the woman that at 20, 21, 22, if I would have met me, I'm my hero. I'm exactly who I'd be like, I want to be her. That's who I want to be when I grow up. And now, of course, there's a whole new level and the journey's still unfolding for me. But who I am now, I could never have become without these various experiences along the way. So some things are going to come in right away, and they all can, money, love, all of that. But there are certain things that, add, like working in television, then working in fashion, then working in media. All of that has really set the stage for where I am now. I've written some books on femme manifesting, and this transformational space is my absolute passion and purpose. And so having this journey that kind of looked spiral or wavy or kind of all over, that journey, all of the pieces, they needed to happen to make me this fully embodied, dynamic woman that I am, that has the capacity to lead the vision that I'm leading now, to stand in the place, to understand how to move capital the way that I understand it now, or how to, show up in a room. So I say that because in time, there is no time and space, and it could sound like I'm saying something needs to take longer. I'm not. What is yours, and you can manifest like boom, 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 boom. I live in that flow, and I know Ania lives in that flow, and a lot of you live in that flow. And that connection in the quantum, and knowing that vibration and that alignment, that the more congruent you are, the more those core connections are going to come in. So I have one more point for you as we start to wrap up here for now. So that original career that I shared has taught me so many things. And I've had a divine privilege of being called on by multimillionaires and billionaires to create for them strategic alliances and high-level connections. And so for over 20 years in the various hats and careers, I've had quite a career as, the celebrity connector. Greg Reed nicknamed me years ago, and Dennis Waitley, it was kind of them kicking around that idea. And so I've been called to do that and paid very well in different ways, whether it was upfront or worked into deals, and have been able to monetize that at a high level. And so I know a few things. One, I know there are a ton of people that are self-identified connectors. Like they know, if you know, like, yes, I'm always connecting people. And maybe you're like I was when I was younger and go, but yeah, I didn't, there's so many people making millions together. And then maybe they took me to dinner, or bought me an expensive purse or something. Nice gesture, but I would have, loved to have been able to earn well. And there are still a lot of connections I make that are not financially, I'm not immediately financially compensated for, but Dr. DeMartini says, know where you're wealthy and then give that wealth to the world in exchange for money, because money is, right, how we buy our plane tickets and move where we want to move and do care for who we get our kids in the schools we want, do the things that we want. So it's a beautiful thing to receive that exchange. And so for some of you connectors, knowing how to actually ground that in, and how do you make an elegant ask? How do you create connections that monetize? That's going to be powerful for us to deep dive in. And I'd love to know, after I'm going to say a few more things, but I'd love to know from you all that are going to be continuing on. And even if you're not, what area are you most excited to learn about connection with, or which area would move you the furthest? That way I can go deeper on that for you. So that first area was people who are self-identified connectors that would love to experience more wealth in the bank and in their lives, or in the Bitcoin, wherever you keep your currency, that you would like more of that through using your skill and your gifting of connection. And it is a spiritual gifting. It is a quantum field, vibration. I mean, I always say you could drop me in anywhere, any grocery store, and I'd end up being with the leaders pretty quickly. And that's not just because I go status hunt or anything like that. It's I connect, and I'm quantum connected. And so there's some kind of gifting or calling with that, but I've also been able to help people learn how to do that. So the second level of learning to connect in the quantum is that some people think being a great connector means you have to be super at it, kind of like the people I was talking about earlier, and that you need to be sending out so many birthday cards and messages and have so many followers and likes and going to all these events and connecting and like massively connecting. And you know what? That's exhausting. That's a full-time job, unless it totally lights you up. And if it does, go to what I just said and learn to monetize that at a high level. But even there, I won't speak for everybody else. For the connectors that work with me and in the way that I'm sharing it's about quality connections. It's about strategic connections. Like that story that I just told you, I didn't have to go and apply for a ton of jobs. I didn't go become a journalist. I didn't suddenly, if we were living in today's time, start a podcast, which you could do that if you have, but I had the desire. I was superbly connected to it, and I got a call and manifested it in, and I took massive action on what I manifested in. Like, give me the ball, I'm going to run with it. Okay. So that's the other part. You don't just sit there and let it all pass you by. You've got to take action, inspired action with it when the connections come in. But that was one connection. It wasn't 40. It wasn't this like chicken with their, running around chaotically. It was very strategic. And so for most people, time is everything. And we want to spend our time, our life, our energy in the most juicy ways. And for me, success isn't just about, being 100% in my business. It's about being 100% everywhere that I say matters to me. So in my sex life, in my gym life, in my family life, in my mother life, in my recovery life, in my travel life, and in my business life, right? So I go all in on all of the areas. Does it mean I win every day on all of the areas? No, but that's the game. That's the game that I play. And so for most people, they think they need to be doing more, but really one core soul aligned strategic alliance could create your next major breakthrough and getting your message out and meeting your soulmate and having the business of your dreams, right? So I love to help people get their connection audit together, because I guarantee you right now, you have so many people, even if you think you don't, in your life that are either the one connection that could change everything, or they're connected to that connection. And even if you don't need that, that's where that quantum work that we're talking about comes in, right? That's where that comes in. It's getting very clear. And just like you've written down that soulmate alignment list, or if you've done avatar work on your dream business avatar, it's a similar process, really feeling into what is that connection that you're craving that would make all the difference. That would be just like superb to work with and could really collaborate with you. It would be mutually beneficial relationship. And if you get clear about that, that person or better for you will come in. And so it's about learning how to do that, learning how to recognize that, learning what connections to focus on. Less is more here. Less is more. It's not more running, quantity. It's quality, a quality connection. That one connection that I'm telling you about, I met Dennis Waitley there. And through Dennis Waitley, who's mentored me over 20 years, Dennis Waitley and the Napoleon Hill Foundation, years after years, doors after doors after doors were opened through the alignment that I had with him as a mentor, and through serving him, put me into relationship with all the people that honored and respected him. Not all of them, because he has millions of people, but many different names. And so I'll give you a little story to wrap that up, and then we'll close it out here for now. Is that, at this last November in 2021, we did a tour, and it was for Dennis Waitley. It was called the New Psychology of Winning Tour. And many of you may or may not know who he is, but he was one of the originators of this whole success philosophy movement today. And so we did a tour with his new book, and, it was virtual. And Brian Tracy, who's also an OG, as we would say, Mo Rock, and I are sitting there on screen, and Brian's going like this because the tour, Dennis had gotten throat cancer right at the beginning of COVID. And he did not let a lot of people know that. And then he put out a success album. I helped him market. He put out the New Psychology of Winning. And so I thought it would be so cool to have a tour with all these people that told me how Dennis had impacted them. Famous people like Les Brown and Jack Canfield of the Chicken Soup of the Soul series, and on. So many different speakers and teachers. I thought it would be so cool to surprise him with these different speakers telling him how he impacted them, and then them just kind of conversing, and we're there getting to witness that. And it was really, really profound, because a lot of times these speakers go on stage together, but they're presenting psychology or quantum healing or whatever they're teaching, marketing. But to be in years and years of the industry, to be the originators of the industry, at least some of he's almost 90 now. And to then get to witness this heart endearing, conversation of appreciation. When I was there, and Brian Tracy was going, Dennis, pretty much like, you've inspired me, and I want to hug you. And they're both legends in their own right. Everybody's kind of teary eyed. I remembered back to whenever, I was 22, 23, had just stopped dancing, and I was in the back of the room taking notes and, fighting to become this vision I was feeling in myself, while having all these old identities and worthiness things that were still in my way, but that spark in my soul, and thinking, wow, if I ever could one day impact someone the way they're impacting me, my dreams will be true, like that would be everything. And so to be in this room with Dennis, who didn't even know I'd ever been a dancer until like 7 years ago, but who had been one of the most important connections of my entire life, because there were times that just because he took my call, I knew that I was on the right track. I was hanging on to that. So to be in this position to bless him and to inspire him and to give to him and to give to Brian Tracy, who also was, a mentor in the early years, at least through audio tapes and things like that, because they were still tapes then when I was listening to him. It was incredible. It was incredible. And, I know that for each of you, there's a calling. And for that next level, even for me, for my next level, my next level of things that I'm doing on TV and with celebrities and influencers to document, record, and rescue, prevent, and rehabilitate children from sex trafficking. For that next level and the level that I'm playing, there are new connections that I need to source into my life and into the world. And I'll use this exact same system again and again. And I'm telling you, it's like one core connection can create that next level of breakthrough. And you can do that in the quantum. And so I've given you a few tips for that. I'm going to recap that. One, connect in here, connect with source, connect with your own design and desire. And I don't mean human design here, but if you like it, I'm about it. It's all right. You may connect with your astrology, your design, but I'm talking about the whole picture. What were you designed for? Your design. I love this phrase that if you took a bird and wrapped its wings up from the time it was a baby, it would still have this desire to spread the wings. And the reason it would have that desire to spread and to fly is because that is what it is designed for. The bird is designed to fly. So your desires are pointing to your design. So what were you tapping in? What are you designed for? What did you come here for? And that can be a lot of things, and it is a lot of things, but get clear about that. And then what is the next level? Hi, Ania. What is that next level that you're wanting to draw in, connecting with that? And then what is that tribe or that ideal connection that you could come alongside with and collaborate, create, open a doorway, and that'll begin drawing that in. And then when it's there, take action with that. All right, it's our time.
So good. Ooh, I want to be just like you when I grow up.
Oh, I love you. I love you. Yeah, you've got one of the core connections for this big project.
Yes, and I'm super excited to connect with all of that as well. Stay tuned for all of that. But without further ado, Adora, as you know, all of the speakers coming in over the last 3 days are going to be in Xpansion Alchemy. They are teachers in Xpansion Alchemy. And if you're just tuning in, Xpansion Alchemy is a beautiful divine alchemy school in the realms of spirituality, personal development, health, relationships, and business. And Adora is going to be all about manifesting, spirituality, goddess flow, and all the good things that she is all about. So make sure to reach out to her for her links. If you came from her, reach out to her for her links to sign up. And I believe she might have a special gift for you as well, which is kind of fun. She just informed me about that today. So, hey, reach out to her for her links and sign up to Xpansion Alchemy. She is going to be doing several master classes all about connections, all about manifesting, all about becoming a beautiful rich queen or king, whatever you want to call yourself. And we will see you inside.
Awesome. See you inside.